Afternoon, everybody. I'm going to do today's video from the comfort of my living room, as opposed to my office where you see a file cabinet behind me. All right, today's video is primarily for those parents that are stuck at home with their kids and they need to have them to have something to write about, because a lot of kids have writing assignments. Maybe, and parents are wanting their child to write some more. And as a teacher, when I taught first or fifth grade, it was always the trouble. Like, Mr. Tiller, I don't know what to write about. I don't have any ideas of what to write about. Okay. So hopefully this lesson, and this shouldn't take that long, will solve that problem. There's always an idea or something to write about. So first of all, kids are going to take just a blank sheet of paper. Okay. So when they come at you and they say, I don't have anything to write about, you're going to teach the kids how to make a list. Okay. So first of all, on our paper, we're going to make a little T. Okay. So your T, just start like this. Just have the students, have your kids make a little T on their paper. Okay. On one side, we're going to write the word love. Okay, we're going to write the word love. Now, on this side of the chart, we're going to list things that we love. Okay, and that could be anything. Okay, so when I teach this lesson, I always start off, okay, one of the things I love baseball. And my marker is going to run out, it looks like. Okay, so one thing, I can write, I love baseball. Okay, so there's one thing I can write about. But also I love pizza. Who doesn't love pizza? Okay, there's another thing I can write about pizza. Don't worry about, oh, that's only two things. You're going to see how this idea is just going to take off in a second. So baseball, pizza, I love summer. Okay. Oh, what else? So I would talk with the kids when I'm doing this. All right, so I love baseball, I love pizza, I love summer. If you know me, I'm wearing a t-shirt right now. I love Star Wars. Okay. All right. And then let's just make it a nice, so there's four things. Okay. Baseball, pizza, summer, Star Wars. This is, let's just make it nice, even five items. Okay. So I love baseball, pizza, summer, Star Wars, swimming. Love swimming. Okay. All right. Now, when doing this in front of a live class or talking with my students about it, I would ask them, I would say, how many things do we actually have to write about right now? And of course, invariably, they're going to say, oh, we have 5 things we can write about. Well, actually, we have more. Okay. So let's start right here. Baseball, I'm not going to write just about baseball. Baseball is a very broad thing. Okay, so I'm going to take this idea of baseball, and then I can come down. I've run out of space, but I can come down here and say, like, I can write about my favorite team. I can write about my favorite player. Okay. Okay, there's 2 other things right here. So we can get into some details here. So we first started off, just list 5 things that, your student may like. And whenever I do this example, here are 5 things that I really like. So now suddenly, instead of having 5 things, the students can say 7. And then we can stretch it out. Invariably on this list, there's always somebody that likes pizza. Well, then what do? You talk about pizza. Okay, what's your favorite topping? What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite pizza restaurant? Okay. And I'm not spelling restaurant right because I don't have it. I'm writing real fast right here. But suddenly, what I try to teach the students, and I hope you as parents see this too, we've gone from 5 things now to actually even more. And within each of these things, baseball, pizza, swimming, Star Wars, baseball, pizza, summer, Star Wars, swimming, we can really we can narrow it down to even more things. With summer, you can talk about what's your favorite thing to do during the summer, what's your favorite place to go in the summer. With Star Wars, which one's your favorite movie, who's your favorite character, what would you do in a Star Wars movie? With swimming, you could be, I don't know, what's your favorite stroke, where did you learn to go swimming, what's your favorite place to go swimming? Suddenly, this list of 5 things grows. Okay, now That's just our start. So right here on this side, we have our love list. Okay. On the other side, and depending on the age of your student, when I taught fifth grade, I would always turn it into my loathe list. You know, if you want to increase that, there it is right there, loathe. And I'm running out of ink on this marker. Um, Things that they don't like. Okay, now here are the rules, and I would have to say this in a classroom, and maybe for those of you that have 4 or 5 kids at home, students at home right now, you know, on this list, you're going to list things that you don't like. We're not going to, and or just really just hate. Now, here are the rules for the list for the loathe side. One, you cannot name somebody specific. So for those of you stuck at home right now, you're not listing your brother, you're not listing your sister, you're not listing your parents. Okay, but you can list things that you know aren't really your favorite thing. So first of all, I would say if I were to do this, Brussels sprouts. I'm not a big fan of Brussels sprouts. Okay, so there's something else on my list. Something else I can write about. Another thing, and I might upset some people with this, or my dentist friends. Um, dent, dentist visits. I don't like going to the dentist. Now suddenly, here's the purpose of this list. Your student now has several things over here on things that they love. Now they have some other things that they just don't like. You can write about that as well. Okay, and I don't want to make that list too long. I had one more thing: Brussels sprouts, dentist visits. What else is not my favorite thing? I'll say, oh, what was I say? Oh, dentist visits. Oh, beets. That's the other thing. Okay, I don't like beets. Okay, my grandmother used to make me eat beets. My mother used to make me eat beets. I'm not a big fan of beets, so I'll put that on the list. Okay. Now again, the rule is, parents, for those of you just tuning in, on your loathe side, if you have an older student, you could use this as the loathe side, things you don't really like. So the rules on the loathe side are you can't list your brother, you can't list your sister, you can't list your parents, you can't list people you specifically know. Just gotta stop that. Okay. Now suddenly, with coming up with ideas, we now have one, two, three, four, five broad ideas. But then we begin to notice that once we even begin to narrow down those broad ideas, you come up with even more ideas. Okay. Now, if you want your student to be writing fiction, this is where the ideas really kind of multiply and kind of exponentially take off. Okay. Now, when I'm doing this lesson in front of a whole class, you know, in person, I'll have the students take one thing from the love side and combine it with one thing on the low side. And this is what I always typically end up doing. So I'm going to take 2 ideas and we're going to come up with it. I'm going to say baseball and Brussels sprouts. Okay. Now, suddenly with the idea of baseball and Brussels sprouts, I don't have a high definition camera, unfortunately, on my laptop here, but with baseball and Brussels sprouts, suddenly ask your child what now appears in your head. So when I do this lesson, suddenly you've got this baseball game being played on your dinner plate, or people are playing baseball with a Brussels sprout, or as I keep wanting to write a book about where your vegetables are playing the meats and potatoes on their on a plate, you know. So, or you know, just the different food is playing a game of baseball on their dinner plate, and all of that came from just combining 2 ideas. You could do another one. Let's see. Star Wars and dentist visits. What would happen with Star Wars in a visit and dentist? Or even that, or even dentist visits. We'll say that. That's what we put on our list. But the idea gets to be you're combining ideas. So now with Star Wars and dentist visits, suddenly now you can have a story of a dentist in the Star Wars universe, or however else you want to take that. But the idea is to get your student, instead of whining, I don't have anything to write about. No, there's always something to write about. That would be what I would always say in my classroom. And when I used to teach in the classroom, my students would always have this list at the at the opening of their writing journal. They would have a love side, and then they would have a loathe side. And there's always something to write about. If you run out of ideas on the love or loathe, you combine the ideas, and now suddenly the ideas of what you can write about become exponential. Okay. Now, hopefully the idea is also is that when they run out of things, and they really shouldn't be running out of things, but if they run out of things, the idea is that once you generate a list of things you just simply like, or things, or generate a list of things you simply don't like, suddenly the ideas become, there's always something to write about. That drives me nuts when kids go, "Oh, I don't have anything to write about." Nope, there's always something to write about. Yesterday I did a video, I did a read aloud, and as I'm realizing I'm not prepared, um, of one of my books called Baseball and Aliens. Well, that book, Baseball and Aliens, is based on this very concept. I took two things that interest me. One, baseball. Two, alien movies. You combine those two things together, and then suddenly you have a brand new idea. It doesn't take coming up and being super creative and sitting. Okay, that's one of the biggest misnomers in coming up with ideas for writing, is that we just sit and we kind of drain. No, coming up with ideas is just working, and it's listing different things. Not all your ideas are going to work, but what I'm hoping to do with this video is, for those parents that are stuck at home and the kids need to be writing, have the kids list things they like, have the kids list things they don't like, and within those things, you can get even more narrowed focus. And then once you take two different ideas and combine them, then it explodes. When I've done this lesson a couple of times, one student I'll never forget actually brought up the idea of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Four different ideas combined, come up with these characters of the Mutant Ninja Turtles. Four totally different ideas: teenage, mutants, ninjas, and turtles. Suddenly you take those four ideas together, and suddenly you've got this very broad universe. You've got characters, you've got villains. Very cool idea. But the idea is that I'm hoping for you parents that are, maybe struggling right now to get their kids to write, is that there's always different things that you can be writing. Okay, so I'm seeing more and more people come in. This, of course, video will be um, saved on the thing on my page. But this is something I do with my students. Just to kind of wrap up, your students, I want your kids at home to always have something to write about. If they're coming at you, say, "Mom, Dad, I don't have anything to write about," this baloney, throw it out. That's not an acceptable response. Okay. What I want you to do is they're going to make a T-chart. On one side, you're going to write love, and then they can list different things that they like. I'm noticing more people are checking in, so I'm going to just review real quick. So for my five, it would have been baseball, pizza, summer, Star Wars, and swimming. So that's five things. Then I began to talk about how within each of those five things you can get details. Okay, so with baseball, I can pick my favorite player, I can pick my favorite team, I can write about the position I played when I played baseball. With pizza, you can write about your favorite topping, you can write about your favorite pizza restaurant, you can write about a favorite time with your pizza. Suddenly you've got more things you can write about. Then to kind of make it interesting, have the kids write things they're not fans of. Okay, when I was a teacher, when I'm in the classroom and we write the loathe list. Now, if you have younger kids, maybe this could be the don't like list. Okay, maybe the don't like list. But the rule is in my classroom is like you're not going to name somebody. So your classroom right now is brothers and sisters. You're not going to name your brothers, your sisters. You're not going to name your cousins. You're not going to name your parents. Just different things you don't like. But then the idea gets to be that once you take ideas and combine them, suddenly the ideas of what your students can write about, explodes. And so don't accept parents that, when they whine and say, "I don't have anything to write about." That's just not true. It just takes some time to list different things they like, things they don't like, things they know. And then if they get stuck, combine ideas. And it's at that combination of ideas, almost like an idea mating. You take two things together and then they make more ideas. That is where the ideas really take off. So for you parents at home that are having a hard time getting your kids to write, this is kind of what I suggest. Again, just create one list of things that you love, one list of things you're not big fans of, but then when you combine them, so as I said here, baseball and Brussels sprouts, Star Wars and dentist visits, suddenly the ideas of what you can write about really kind of take off. So that's about 15 minutes right there. So thank you guys for that visited that are still with me. Thank you for popping in. For those of you that are seeing this later, let me know what you come up with. Shoot me a message or leave a message in the comments. Tell me what your students came up with. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Hang in there. I know we're all kind of starting to feel the cabin fever possibly. So let me know what your students write about. I'd love to hear it. All right. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon.